Hey guys, I am obviously out on a walk, but I wanted to bring an awareness to anyone with ears to hear about this subject. It's been in my world. I wrote about it in my book. It's called The All or Nothing Monster Track. In the book, The Monster Under the Bed, Uncovering the Lie That Drives Us. And the all or nothing track is a trap that we see play out right now everywhere. So in the hearer, okay, so you take responsibility for how you hear things and notice how easily we hear things with all or nothing thinking, with the filter of all or nothing. Sorry, and I got a cool guy weed eating up there. And you're helping me climb my hill because it's really, if I start panting and passing out, you know. But anyway, I was just inspired about this the last few days, confirming this issue with me and with what's happening. So pay attention to how you hear things, because that's where the trigger lies, is in how we hear. Somebody that says, just for example, police are corrupt. Do you hear that with all police are corrupt, or does your all or nothing track get triggered and say, hey, but there's a lot of good policemen. Yeah, but there's a lot of bad. See, do you see the and? Yes, and yes. Black Lives Okay, my cell service gets wonky too. So Black Lives Matter, it's another great one. I've had this discussion with several people lately. The organization called Black Lives Matter, which triggers people, because they're watching all the stuff about how corrupt they are and how bad they are. And yet the phrase Black Lives Matter, nobody would disagree with. So listen from an and. What part is what the other person is saying? Look to find peace. Look to agree instead of disagree. Watch for your internal triggers that trigger you. Because that's what this is all about, by the way. This is about healing us. This is about showing us where we have wounds. If you have a button that gets pushed by someone else, trying to go stop those people from pushing your buttons is one way. That's what's being done right now, playing out in front of our eyes. You stop, it's your fault, you blah, 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 you blah, 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 out here. But if we go, wait, what about that pushes my button? Well, Kim, you can't just let injustice go. You got to stand up and fight for what's right. Okay, there's some and in that, where I go, yeah, I get it. But does that mean what? How do you interpret, if you even are able to go to an and question with someone else's trigger that you got triggered by, you could go, okay, why does that specific thing, this happens in families all the time, why does what they just said trigger me? I could go blame them, or I could go look inside and see what's under the button that's being pushed. Because you don't have to have a button. And that's what I believe the purpose of all of this. See, we've had these things happen in our life up before, way before COVID, way before this is in our face, all this stuff. It's already been there. It's just been more under the surface, kind of just eating away at us as a people, as a person, as a soul, as a piece of God. It just eats away because it's not what we are here for. It's not, but we didn't know it was so not in our face, we could just stay about our busy lives and be apathetic, more apathetic. I'll deal with it later, shove it away, let's not talk about it. All of this stuff is an opportunity for us to, yes, have social reform, but how are we going to have social reform? Killing people and murder and destruction and hate is not how you have social reform. That's sustainable. You might get to shut people up, but that's all you've done, and you've just ignited, you've just squelched an issue that you may feel good in the moment, like, okay, phew, we got those monuments down, or phew, we got, whatever you're happy about. Whatever, we've got a president now in the White House that truly speaks for us. Yeah, but you've squelched a ton of people. Both sides are feeling very squelched and not heard. because there's an and that if we could all sit down and stop the buttons of our ego, fear brain, and relax and go, wait, what's most important here? I've had to say this in my marriage. Is it more important for me to be right or for me to be happy and me to figure this out? And some people stay in the category of being right, and I probably did for a long time until I saw more and more and more carnage and destruction. Or you just get divorced and say, well, then that's their fault, and he was a narcissist and he was horrible, and But it was something that could have been if we had stopped ourselves and gone down to the root soon enough and go, wait, okay, what are you saying that really has some truth to it? Let me find the truth in what you're saying instead of the lie, the evil. See, you're going to get what you look for. And when you look for something that you can be united with, that's what we want, you guys. We want unification, and it starts with us. We can't blame the president for not having a unified message. Okay, and yeah, should he be better? It's not the playground I want to play in. Let's talk about us. Let's talk about me. Am I triggered? Am I just hating the hater? Am I bullying the bully? Am I still having, for just my justified reasons, feel really righteous to me? But it's at the end of the day, the same energy and the same destruction that we're seeing. It's so much easier to see it in others, isn't it? And then we can blame them. Monster Track 10, blame. It's like that's what our brain's going to do. That's what our ego's going to do. That's what our fear-based survival identity ego is going to do. We're going to deflect. We're going to look outside of ourselves. I'm saying this is a huge chance for us. Yay for COVID. Yay for Black Lives stuff and this issue. Yay for all of it, because it's in divine order. And our souls have been needing a reboot. Our souls have been needing to be realigned, okay? And these are the pivotal issues that are making it like, okay, and it feels very all or nothing. You're either on this side or this side, and if you even hint of being a supporter of those other people, even in what you're saying might make sense, but and media knows how to click you, knows how to trigger. So just watch in yourself. Are you listening from an and? Yeah. Are you listening to understand? Are you using St. Francis's prayer to, let's be an instrument of peace? Because at the end of the day, who cares who's right and who's wrong? That isn't the playground. The playground is who feels heard, that's all everyone wants, is just to feel heard and what they have to say. If you would get out of the way with fighting, whoever needs to be understand things from the way you think they should understand it, let's just say your way is the best way. Let's just say, okay? You fighting to prove that point is going to stop that person from hearing it sooner, because you've just triggered their survival brain. Their ego is at stake, their identity, it's survival. And I see in the animal kingdom all the time, my little chickens are just like, they're deciding who's in charge, who's the big guy, who's the biggest, who's the most right, who gets to be the leader of the pen, who's da-da-da-da. And in animals that might work, but in humans, that isn't the consciousness we want to align with, because we've passed that. And that's what this is evidence of. We are now being called, reminded, heavily reminded, to go choose you this day who you are. And we are one. We are one. These people that are hurting, that are using language that triggers you, bypass the language and go to the person. That person hurt people. So even those horrible people that are doing these horrible things, see them differently. It doesn't mean you're approving. That's what ego will tell you. That's what fear will tell you, is that, well, if you don't stand up and fight it, then they're just going to win. No, actually, it's the lose your life to find it principle here. It's the be willing to see things differently. Shut that ego that needs to be right. Shut that down. That's the knee-jerk reaction that is from all of us in every conflict situation we have in our life. So if this is my message, this is exactly my message. Hear my heart. I love you all, and I may not agree with everyone's positions. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter their position. It matters who they are. It matters, sorry, I'm all worked up. It matters that they are a piece of you, whether you want to admit to it or even acknowledge that or not. The hater is a piece of you. The person who you think should hate more is a piece of you. Everybody is connected. If you watched on my Facebook the video I posted about the tree, oh my gosh, look at what's surrounding me right now. If I were to go plug in this probe into the roots of that tree and the leaves into that tree, these trees are singing. These trees are making amazing vibrational sounds that show that they are a piece of the same thing we are made of. There is nothing made that wasn't made by love and by God, but God is love. And love means I'm going to look for the good. I'm going to look for what are you saying that you feel so strongly about? It doesn't need my argument. It doesn't need my position. It doesn't need my fighting stance, because they will be persuaded to whatever the ultimate truth is of love by you modeling that to them, by you listening first to understand, by you seeking to pardon instead of you getting. And Christians, you know what? People of faith, I'm talking to you. Like, let's go. Put up or shut up. Let's go. What do you really, really believe? Who's in control of all of this? Is any of this a mistake? Or is all of this in divine order? Because that's what, out of love, our souls are craving. And I know this is a very bizarre thing for many of you to hear, but this is the truth I'm called to speak today. And listen from a place of how can I unite with the person that initially is massively triggering me and makes me want to rip their face off and show them why they're wrong. Love you.